We're going to go straight off court because some people got fired on their day off, Craig. Some people got fired on their day off, Craig. So let's jump straight into it. The Giants fired head coach Brian Daboll. He started out being coach of the year in 2022, but digressed tremendously. Got a 20-40-1 record. I don't know why they kept Joe Schoen. He kept his job, so he didn't get fired on his day off. But then we also got some people that got fired on the hardwood. Nico Harrison, he spent his tenure as the Mavericks GM for the last 3 years. His run included a 2024 NBA Finals, several key trades. Ultimately, the trade that I think got him kicked out the door was him trading Luka Doncic. Yeah. But also, let's talk about this. They only have 2 available first-round picks in the next 7 years, and then they triggered the apron tax when they signed D'Angelo Russell. Canty, I know you sound off on First Take about Brian Daboll, but I want to ask you, which firing did you not see coming or did you see was warranted?
Oh, man, I would probably say the Nico Harrison one, but listen, when you trade a 25-year-old superstar fresh off of an NBA Finals appearances, 5 consecutive first-team All-NBA nods, and he was averaging 34 points a game, you trade that dude and your team in the aftermath of that is absolutely abysmal. It's going to be hard to justify keeping your job. But ultimately, I would say this. We didn't get a chance for Nico Harrison's vision to come to fruition, right? Anthony Davis hurt, Kyrie Irving hurt. Now, here's the thing. I think Nico had plenty to do, plenty to blame when it comes to those guys being pushed out on the court and maybe doing too much. Kyrie Irving logged heavy minutes post-Luka trade. You're talking about games of 41 minutes, 39 minutes played, 41 minutes played, 43 minutes played, 39 minutes, 37 minutes, 31 minutes, 39 minutes, 38, and then he popped his ACL. For a guy that's 32 years old, you know that's too much of a load. So that's on Nico Harrison as much as it is an unfortunate injury that you have to deal with in sports. The same thing with Anthony Davis. He was dealing with an ab injury. He tried to push himself to get out there because of the criticism, Nico being under fire. And what does he do? He ends up straining his groin, out for the rest of the year. So the Dallas Mavs didn't cover themselves in glory in terms of how they handled that, and Nico Harrison deserves some blame. Patrick Dumont, the owner of the Dallas Mavs, deserves a lot of blame for this situation too. But guess what? The owner ain't going to fire himself, so he did the next best thing. He fired the general manager that he gave permission to less than 2 years ago to trade the league's biggest superstar.
I think you threw him under the bus. You feel me? Like, I know he came to your office. I know they had conversations. I know they talked about the trade. I know they talked about what they want to do. But from your POV, how does it look? Now, we're going to talk about the Giants because Joe Schoen did some things, and I don't know why he has his job. But from your POV, knowing that the ownership had to sign off on such of a big trade, do you think they made him a scapegoat because the fans are now saying fire Nico?
Oh, of course they did. That Washington Wizards game, the optics from that, the crowd chanting fire Nico when it's a one-possession game down the stretch in clutch time, that's a bad look. And at the end of it, it's an entertainment product. So if your paying customers aren't happy, then you have to do something to satiate them. And serving up Nico Harrison was the best thing that Patrick Dumont could do. And it's wild because you would think the fan base would be past this when you draft the number 1 overall pick and that guy happening to be one of the most anticipated American-born prospects that we've seen since LeBron James, since Zion Williamson. And I mean, if you want to go white American-born prospects, you got to go all the way back to Larry Bird. So think about that. They got that dude down in Dallas, Texas, and they still couldn't get past trading Luka to the Los Angeles Lakers. So it's something that had to be done. But now the question is, what's next? Because there's no reason for the organization to sit on their hands and wait on Kyrie to come back or wait for Anthony Davis to come back. They need to be shopping those dudes immediately because they don't fit the timeline in terms of what the team's priority should be, which is building around Cooper Flag.
Yeah, and the interim GM being Michael Finley, I think it's always great when a former player gets the helms. I know he's interim,
no doubt,
but let's see how that works out. But let's talk about the Giants. And I know you sound off on them. You got a chance to sit there with Stephen A. Smith and the gang and talk about them yesterday on First Take. But the fact that Joe Schoen still got his job after Daniel Jones, looking like an MVP candidate right now. You shipped him off. You gave up on him. Now, I know it was 2 teams ago, but you gave up on him. Saquon. Now, you talked about that. Saquon, Russian title, got a ring and things. Why does he still have his job and my guy Daboll is out? And I know he deserves to be out, but why is the GM still sitting in his seat today?
The only answer to that would have to be the position that the organization is in terms of dealing with the health of patriarch John Mara. Now, let me say this with a degree of sensitivity because I have the utmost respect for John Mara. He is one of the finest men in the National Football League, but he is dealing with cancer. And that, if you've ever known anybody that's gone through that fight, that takes a lot out of any human being. Running an NFL team is not easy, especially when the team is going through a coaching search. You can't add another degree of difficulty on top of that by going through a general manager search simultaneously. So what I will say is this. Joe Schoen right now is in his job to help shepherd the New York Football Giants through the coaching search to find the next guy that's going to wear the headset on the sideline. I did not look at Joe Schoen being retained this week in any way, shape, or form as a vote of confidence from ownership in terms of him staying around in that role long term. I think it's for now, and depending on how the coaching search goes, depending on how the second half of the season goes, the Giants will revisit what Joe Schoen's status with the organization is in the offseason. But I just think it's a lot for the organization and for John Mara in particular to be going through a coaching search and a general manager search simultaneously in the middle of a season when you're also trying to deal with a quarterback that's been knocked around, oft injured, and not necessarily managed properly. So I think that is the state of affairs when it comes to the New York Giants.
All right, one more thing. We know that the offensive coordinator, Mike, and let's see if I'm getting better at this, Kafka? Look, I'm getting a little bit better at names, Canty. I'm getting a little bit better at this. But what do you think is going to happen the rest of the season? They already have a losing record. We know what's happening. Dart is out with concussion right now. But is he going to maybe give some energy?
Is he gonna
give a little energy. You know, sometimes you change. You know, you change a situation. You go into a new relationship. You get new dreads. You get a sleeve. You get a little bit more money. You start acting a little different. Do you think he can give a little joy, energy to the Giants, or is it just like it's about to be a revolving door?
Okay, let me run through this for you. The New York Giants, next 3 opponents before they bye week. At home against the Green Bay Packers.
Done.
On the road against the Detroit Lions. Done. On the road against the New England Patriots. So you asked me the question about what Mike Kafka is going to do. You can go ahead and take out the F, and that'll probably describe what you're going to see for the New York Giants over the next 3 games. And if it goes the way that I think it's going to go, then you probably talking about the guys making plans for the offseason, starting to ship the cars home, wrap up their leases, all kinds of things. Because players put themselves in job preservation mode. And down the stretch, play for pride is not enough of a mantra to be able to get the best out of these guys that have been in and around the NFL for any extended period of time. So, yeah, I think this is going to be all bad for the New York Giants. The thing that concerns me the most is that you're trying to develop a rookie quarterback in the midst of it. And Jackson Dart has already been beat up. He's been in the medical tent game after game after game. It seems like I just worry about them allowing him to get the career knocked out of him before it even gets off the ground and what will amount to being a lost season.
We're not going to stay too much on this, but hey, listen. Sometimes you got to let the ones go that can't show up for you. And I mean, that's what you see in both the hardwood and also on the field.